From what I've seen in the report, reveals the same or similar human rights abuses that we addressed in our communication in March. This is to say that the human rights abuses are very often that are linked to the private military and security companies, very often with what they call Russian instructors. The human rights abuses such as torture, indiscriminate attacks on civilians.
في خطوة متقدمة تمكن فريق الخبراء التابع للأمم المتحدة من جمع أدلة وشهادات من أفريقيا الوسطى توثق الانتهاكات الخطيرة التي ترتكب بحق المدنيين من قبل القوات المسلحة ومعهم قوات الفاغنر أو المدربون الروس وفق التسمية التي وردت في التقرير الأممي. أخبار الآن لخصت بعضا من انتهاكات القانون الدولي والإنساني التي وردت في التقرير الذي ذكر أن فريق الخبراء تلقى في عدد من المناطق التي زارها شهادات سرية بشأن الاستخدام المفرط للقوة من جانب القوات المسلحة لأفريقيا الوسطى والمدربين الروس. التقرير الأممي الذي صدر مؤخرا ب6 لغات ومن 190 صفحة تحدث فيه الضحايا عن إطلاق نار وعمليات قتل عشوائي أسفرت عن مقتل مدنيين بينهم أطفال، وقد ذكرت شهادات أخرى أن قوات الفاغنر قتلت شخصين من ذوي الإعاقة رميا بالرصاص، إضافة إلى شهادات عن عمليات اعتقال تعسفي وسرقة ونهب للثروات وتهريبها. التقرير لم يفاجئ يلينا أباريتس رئيسة مجموعة العمل التابعة للأمم المتحدة المعنية باستخدام المرتزقة، وهي قالت لأخبار الآن إن التقرير أتى ليؤكد ما كانت مجموعة العمل تقوله في أوقات سابقة.
In my capacity as the chair of the UN Working Group on the use of mercenaries, I cannot comment on the content of the document because that relates to the panel of experts, which operates under the different mandate. But I can say with the great concern that the content of the report does not surprise me. And in fact, it corroborates with some of the findings that we have addressed in our allegation letter that's called the communication in March 2021 this year. And it is very concerning to say that those human rights abuses are continuing to occur in the context of the Central African Republic. From what I've seen in the report, reveals the same or similar human rights abuses that we addressed in our communication in March. This is to say that the human rights abuses are very often that are linked to the private military and security companies, very often with what they call Russian instructors. The human rights abuses such as torture, indiscriminate attacks on civilians, extrajudicial killings, sexual violence, looting of private properties, attacks on humanitarians and civilians. Those human rights abuses we have addressed in our allegation letters through the communication system, and I see with the great concern that the panel of experts has addressed the same human rights abuses in the context of the mercenary and private military and security contractors operating in Central African Republic.
مجموعة العمل التابعة للأمم المتحدة لم تشارك بهذا التقرير بحسب طبيعة التفويض، لكن السؤال الأهم: ماذا بعد صدور تقرير جديد من هذا النوع؟ وما هي الخطوة التالية بالنسبة للمنظمة الدولية؟
The decision lies on states now to take further steps. What the working group on the use of mercenaries has been requesting since our allegation letters and the press release, that, well, first of all, the recruitment of the private military and security contractors and mercenaries cease immediately. If there has to be some recruitment of private and security companies, we would like to have some clarity on the legal basis, on the contractual relationship with different actors, and on the specific mandates of each actor operating in Central African Republic. We have also been asking that the state, apart from not recruiting, constraining from recruiting the private military and security companies, conduct independent and impartial investigation on human rights abuses. And we believe this is a very important step to any peace process and dialogue for the Central African Republic, for the sustainable peace, but also for access to justice for the victims, to have a documentation on human rights abuses. before providing any protection to the civilian communities, first we need to ensure that there is access to the civilians and that there is the cease of human rights and humanitarian law violations. Then the next step is also to document those violations that actually occur. And then it's the next step would be the accountability and different responsibility regimes. These are all steps that require several actors to be involved. They are long-term strategies, and they involved good political will on behalf of different actors. So there is responsibility on the international community in itself, but there is the responsibility also on the actors on the ground operating in Central African Republic.
في المحصلة فإن المشهد بات أكثر وضوحاً أمام المجتمع الدولي، فقوات الفاغنر ما زالت مستمرة وموجودة في أفريقيا الوسطى، وهو ما يقلق الأمم المتحدة لناحية الاستمرار في ارتكاب جرائم مختلفة.
We are still very concerned about the relationship and the roles of actors operating in the Central African Republic that could potentially fall under the definition of mercenary or the private military and security contractors. Their presence in the field is ongoing, and we are still monitoring the situation on the ground.